The holy month of Ramzan is here. Often patients come asking what to consume during this month because they experience common complaints like bloating, acidity, fatigue, exhaustion, constipation, headache, and even insomnia. These complications are all Vata-related disorders because of the excruciating heat paired with the fasting. So today, let me show you a recipe which you can consume through the month in the form of a herbed gruel, which not only takes care of the Vata-related disorders, which also helps in nourishing as well as cleansing your body. For this, we are going to need some rice, green gram, vegetables, and condiments. And each one of these plays a crucial role with respect to nourishment. Often we are confused which rice to use. You can either go for white rice or red rice. And what decides that is which is staple to you. If you are used to consuming red rice or brown rice, then in that case you can go for the red rice because it is rich in vitamin B, fiber, and it is quite nourishing. But it can be a little heavy for those who are not used to it. Now coming to the white rice, it is much easier to be digested. Just ensure that you are not going for the polished rice because the bran in it is going to be essential in providing the right kind of fiber. The advantage of white rice is that for most people that is what is staple and it is much easier to be digested. You can go for Sona Masuri, Konni, Jeeragashala, or even Kaima, depending on which is staple to you. Today I'll be using white rice because it is easier to be digested, and being summer, we are going to need foods that are quite easy to be digested. But for those who can digest the red rice quite well, which is a matta rice, you may please opt for the same. Ensure that you wash the rice at least 2 or 3 times, especially if you're using the red rice. One of the main reasons why red rice is quite notorious is because of the arsenic content in the same. The toxicity from arsenic is what most people fear. But nothing to be worried. You just need to wash it twice or thrice, and the arsenic toxicity is not to be feared. So the water that you obtain by washing rice, which is called Tandalodaga Ayurvedically, is actually quite medicinal. It is used in Rakta or menorrhagia where there is excessive bleeding. Now, this water is used as an anupana upon consuming medicines for the same. So you can actually utilize it. One of the commonest doubts that everybody has with respect to cooking rice is whether to leave the fork open or closed. The best way out is, if you have time, is to leave it open because this ensures the proper cooking of rice, and moreover, we do not want the steam to fall back into the rice while it is getting cooked. Now, coming to the second most important ingredient, nothing but the source of protein. Here we are going to use green gram. You can use split moong dal or even masoor dal, tur dal, chickpeas, rajma, even kulatha, which is a 4 gram, is best to be avoided because they give you more bloating. So either green moong dal, or masoor dal. In any case, you got to soak it for minimum 8 hours or overnight. The advantage of lentils are that they give you stability. Though they have a tendency to increase the vata, they also help in balancing the kapha, which means they give you anchoring and stability. Here we have got the soaked and cooked moong dal, which is green moong dal, and I normally try cooking it with shallots and garlic. This takes care of the vata aggravating property of moong dal. So there are 2 ways to do it. Either you can use the soaked and cooked moong dal, or you can cook the soaked moong dal along with rice. That gives it an even better flavor. While preparing the gruel, ensure that you use a handful of vegetables. You can use one of your choice. Here I'll be using carrot and beans. The reason why I have chosen beans is because it is rich in fiber. The fiber part in it is what helps in improving the bowel evacuation, which otherwise has a tendency to get constipated because of the long hours of fasting. The other vegetable that I'm using is carrot. Carrot, as you may know, is highly vata stabilizing because it is a tuber. While using carrot, ensure that you do not go overboard. Just because it is a colorful vegetable, it does not contain a whole lot of fiber. These vegetables are best to be cooked in steam. And that is because if you try oil cooking it, there is unnecessary amount of oil going into it, giving you indigestion. There are basically two kinds of condiments that we'll be using. One is the wet and the other one is the dry kind. So let me show you the wet ingredients or wet condiments that I'll be using. Here we have ginger, garlic and shallots or small onion, which is quite common in southern parts of India. Shallots are amazing because they help you in relieving fever, which means it is amapachana. In other words, it is anti-inflammatory in property. And when it comes to ginger, it helps in better metabolization or pachana of food. And the reason why we add garlic, despite of its heat, is because it helps in balancing the vata. Now let us see if the vegetables have been cooked well. Since we won't be cooking it again, ensure that they're soft and cooked well. If you fear excess weight gain, you can replace the carrots with zucchini or even bottle gourd. There are basically 4 kinds of dry condiments that we'll be using in this. The first one is cumin. You would need approximately 1/4 teaspoon of the same. It is a cumin that helps in relieving the bloating and constipation. The second one is fennel seeds. It's from the same family as cumin, which is Apiaceae, and it is the fennel seed that is going to help you with relieving the acidity, excessive heat, and even the broken sleep. The third dry ingredient, fenugreek. Fenugreek, also called methi seeds. You're going to need this approximately twice the quantity of cumin seeds that you will be using. It is the methi seeds that is going to help you with your hair as well as the constipation, because this particular herb is amazing for your bone health. The fourth and the most common dry ingredient, the very antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral turmeric. You can use up to 1/4 teaspoon for every cup of rice. Now, let us roast the condiments and the vegetables. For this, I'm gonna use some A2 cow's ghee. As always, ensure that you use pure, fresh source of cow's ghee. The reason why I'm using cow's ghee is because it is essential after a long day of fasting, because your gut is dry, stomach is dry. This ghee is what is going to aid the process of digestion. It is under such circumstances that the cow's ghee becomes digestive in nature. First, add some fenugreek seeds. The fenugreek seeds can either be roasted in cow's ghee or you can add while cooking the rice. Now, if you try adding it while cooking the rice, especially white rice, it may not get properly cooked. Next, I'm adding some cumin seeds followed by fenugreek seeds. Once these 3 are done, now it is time for us to add ginger and garlic. Again, if you're using red rice, you can cook it along with the rice. Now, since the white rice doesn't take a lot of time to get cooked, I'm not adding it to the white rice. Followed by that, let us add some shallots. The shallots not only provides a good flavor to the rice, it also helps in promoting the digestion. Interestingly, in Ayurveda, it is given whenever you have fever, especially for young kids. It is actually combined along with even palm candy and given up for cough in young kids. Next goes in the vegetables. Followed by the choice of lentils. Here I have chosen green dal. The outer coating, which is fibrous, is again going to be helpful in relieving the constipation. For those who have excessive bloating, you can avoid using the whole moong dal. It is best to add the moong dal towards the end while roasting, because otherwise it will turn out to be too mushy. While adding turmeric, ensure that you are not adding it to the oil directly. The problem is that it has a tendency to get burnt, and once it is burnt, the medicinal properties of the same are lost. Now, all our ingredients, the pulses, vegetables, condiments, both wet and dry, even the cow's ghee has been added. Now to this is what we are going to add the rice. Now, let me introduce you to the star ingredient, that which makes it an Ayurvedically approved gruel, the best suitable one for the Ramzan season, and that is buttermilk. It is not the regular buttermilk where you add water and blend the curd. Instead, we will be using some condiments which helps in removing the anti-inflammatory and pitta spiking, which is the heat increasing property of curd. So for this, we are going to need 1/4 cup of curd or homemade yogurt. Followed by that, we are going to need approximately 3 sprigs of curry leaves, which are to be blended well. In fact, it is the curry leaves which makes it anti-inflammatory, and also the anti-helminthic property of curry leaves gets imparted to the buttermilk. And this is to be followed by fennel seeds, 2 shallots, and then some turmeric. For every 1/4 cup of curd, you got to add 1 cup of water. Now, let us blend the condiments thoroughly with the curd and water. Three things to be taken care of here. 1. Before you add the buttermilk to the gruel, ensure that it has reached room temperature, because otherwise the curd in the buttermilk has a tendency to cause pitta spike or increased inflammation. The second thing, you can either filter and take out the spices and then add, but I would prefer adding it along with the condiments. And the third thing, do not heat after adding the buttermilk. Give it a thorough mix, and your Ramzan Peya or Ramzan gruel, that which is Ayurvedically approved, is almost ready. If you have noticed, we have missed out one ingredient, which of course is always to be added towards the end of the preparation, and that is nothing but rock salt or Himalayan pink salt. I always prefer using Himalayan pink salt because that is the one which Ayurveda recommends for regular consumption, and that is because sea salt has a tendency to give swelling and it is not good for eyes. Now, this recipe would be incomplete without the aromatic flavor of coriander leaves, which is again cooling in nature and good for acidity. Now, here is the Ayurvedically approved gruel for the Ramzan season. Now, before I end it, let me ask you, why do you think we have added the buttermilk in this recipe? Do let me know in the comments.